I'm Donna Hetzler.
And I'm Sally Smith.
We, just like you, are bravely walking through the dark valleys of life in hopes of scaling joyful summits.
We believe that safe and trusted women are a force to be reckoned with. When we climb together, we can reach the mountaintop.
Many of our challenges come from feeling as if we are stuck while trying to ascend, hiding in crevices, waiting for storms to pass.
Might we suggest that you have a more proactive role in reaching the peaks of your own life?
Let's laugh at the untruths we were taught, from the common religious myths to the lies we believe about our situations and about ourselves.
It is our hope that our time together brings you solace from life's daily drudgery and a bit of lighthearted laughter.
This is a safe place where you are welcome, right where you are, even in your questions and doubts. So rise up, sister. It's time to conquer together.
And we certainly hope you'll say,
"Now that's funny!"
Welcome to another episode of That's Funny. Here's your host, Donna Hetzler. And Sally Smith.
Welcome, everyone. How have you been doing this week? We've really been working on this new topic that we've got.
It's difficult, right?
I know, and the new topic is God has a better plan.
Now that's funny. Oh my goodness. How have you been doing with your willing heart? Have you had that posture of, God, I'm just willing to be available to you. I'm willing to hear you. I'm willing to do your will. And, how has that gone for you? So please keep the comments coming so we can hear about how you're out there working it just as much as we are, right? And so I've been practicing the willing heart, and I think it was 2 episodes ago where I talked about having those conflicting prayers. Prayers.
The prayers?
Prayers. I can't even say it because it's so conflicting. But, the one hand is like, okay, I want this, but this should happen. And, if I pray this, then is it against this? And is it negating that and struggling with that?
Right.
So this week, having that willing posture, I've just been like, God, you are so much bigger than I can imagine. And you can answer these prayers either together or in totally different ways that are going to be, marked out as quote unquote a better plan, right? Your plan, your ways. So I've just been holding them real loosely and been like, look, I'm willing. This is what I want. I know this is what needs to happen. Here, you deal with it.
That's tough. That's
yeah,
really hard.
Because then I keep going, well, wait a minute.
Let me scoop it back up
So
a little.
if I did it this way, how would that go? So I do find myself bringing it back around. But no, I'm really trying to do the willing heart. So hopefully it's been fruitful for you as well. And we are going to jump into this whole better plan. It's just...
I like how you do better plan.
Right, because, again, we know that God always has a better plan. We know that. But when somebody says it to me, I'm kind of like, it feels like it's, like they're just trying to make everything right in my life. Like, oh, he's just got a better plan and just trust. It's like, well, no, because, this is a road I don't want to go on, or I don't like the way this is going.
Right.
And I understand he's got a better plan, but step back. Don't tell me that. That felt a little familiar. Step back. Okay, so we're going to jump in to this topic. And in some of our previous episodes, one of our very first topics that we started with, you got to hear some pieces of Sally's story about, Shane and everything that transpired. And so you're going to take us back a little because there's some pieces that we didn't get to share because the episodes are so small, right?
Right.
Or so short that we can't tell you every detail. So we want to keep coming back to some of the stories and see where God was working. And so why don't you take us back then? So where we kind of left off was like, you had raised some money and then you were going to the Mayo Clinic to figure out what was going on with Shane, and then they sent you back here to a doctor. But in that journey to the Mayo Clinic, there was some God moments that you encountered, right?
Right.
So do you want to
There was
tell us that?
There was actually a big one. So like Donna said, I took you to the Mayo Clinic with us and back, but I didn't take you for the journey.
Yes.
So to start with, we could not figure out what was wrong with him here in Colorado, despite all of our efforts, doctors after doctors after doctors. So we finally contacted the Mayo Clinic,
Right.
and they said they would see us. There were 5 specialists we had to see,
Yes.
and we didn't have insurance, so we had to raise money.
Right. I
And
remember that time.
I know, and of course there was not GoFundMe back then.
Yeah.
So it was cans out in gas stations and family and friends and things like that
Right.
to get us there, because each doctor wanted $1,500 up front before they would see us.
Crazy. Wow.
5 doctors we had to see.
Wow.
So, we had this fundraiser. We were so thankful that we had the family and friends that we did. So I had my plan. Yes, I had my plan, and it was the perfect plan.
Yeah, that's better than God's plan.
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's funny. So I had this plan. We had to get on a plane from Denver to Minneapolis.
Okay.
So that's where we went first. So it was February. It was cold, snowy here in Denver, and also snowy in Minnesota. So our first leg of it was Denver to Minneapolis. We made it there fine. Plan's going great.
Yeah, you're like checking your
Yes,
list.
checking
All
my
right,
list.
got there.
I've got just the right amount of money. I've got just the right plan in place. So we land in Minneapolis.
Because you had it planned like down to the meals you were eating and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You had to.
Oh
be
yeah,
on that
because
budget.
we just didn't have the money.
Right,
Like it was
yeah.
everything we had. So we get to Minneapolis, and we have to take a smaller plane to get from Minneapolis to Rochester, because that's where the Mayo Clinic was. So we're on the plane from Minneapolis to Rochester. I'm good. Like, okay, we're almost there. It's kind of getting later, at night, but we're almost there. So first I hear on the speaker, the pilot comes on, and they're like, we're facing some weather. We're going to try and, loop around again and see if we could land. Well, my anxiety is like, I could feel it boiling, like, oh my God.
What do you mean we're circling around?
I know.
Let me talk to that
This
pilot.
is not in my plan. So he comes on again, and then he finally says, we cannot land in Rochester. We have to go back to Minneapolis.
Oh.
Okay, this girl has OCD and anxiety,
Right.
and I am freaking out.
Yes.
I am like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because we have to get to the hotel, because in the morning we have to get to the Mayo Clinic.
Right. And how are
now-
you getting there?
And how am I going to get there? Because it's like an hour and a half drive from Minneapolis to Rochester.
Oh, goodness.
So I'm freaking out. I mean, like, I am freaking out. And so there's this...
But sadly, God has a better plan.
I don't want to hear it. But that's what someone said.
Ah.
So there's this older couple in front of us, and the lady turns around, little old sweet lady, and she says, honey, the Lord has a different plan for you tonight.
Oh, but I like how she said different.
She said different.
She didn't say better,
didn't say
which
better.
feels
She
like
said different.
sugarcoatery, like
Right.
she's not trying to
Right. But
make the situation better, but she's saying it could be different than what you're thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I had a thought bubble in my head because I didn't say what wanted to come out of my mouth,
Thank goodness.
I was like, turn around, lady, I've got a plan. So I could hear these people up in the front of the plane saying, well, let's all share a taxi. And I'm thinking, great, this is perfect. Because, I don't have the money for it.
Right.
I just won't eat one day, one meal. But that's okay, because if we share a taxi, it won't be as much.
Right.
So I tell my husband, I'm like, okay, you hear these people up there? When this plane lands, when they start unloading, we are going up there, we are getting with those people, and we are going to share a taxi with them.
Yes.
And he's like, okay. Guess what?
God had a better plan.
That was not what happened. So
Matt had a better plan.
Matt had a better plan. He always does. He listens more than I do.
Oh,
But-
wait.
I know.
Matt's in the room.
He's gonna play.
Wait, say that again?
Yeah, he's going to play that several times. So I'm trying to get him off this plane, and he stops to help this elderly couple, the lady who turned around and told me God has a different plan. So I'm like, hurry up, let's go.
I don't want to hang out with
I don't
her.
wanna
She's
hang
got a
out.
different plan
Yeah.
than my agenda.
So he is just slowly walking and helping these people and talking to them because he loves to talk in a good way, not a bad way. And so
You're just mad because he was right.
yeah, exactly.
I'm kidding.
So, we're walking, we lose these people. So he's stopping to talk to this elderly couple, and he stops to help them with their luggage because they were struggling. Of course, I did not have this in my plan.
Right.
I don't want to stop and talk to these people. I don't want to help these people. I just want to go.
I just want to get there, and we lost our group taxi.
I've got to get my kid to the Mayo Clinic. That's all I had in my head.
Right.
So we finally get kind of like to the doors of the outside, and of course he's talking to the couple, Doris and Dell, sweetest couple ever. And come to find out as he's talking and I start talking and he's got their luggage that they are going to the Mayo Clinic.
Ooh.
I know. And they are actually staying in the same hotel as us.
Now go figure. Who
I
would have
know.
planned that?
I know.
I wonder.
So we get in the taxi, and of course it's a long ride and there's bad weather. So they're sharing their story with us and we're sharing our story with them. And it was a lovely ride. And then at that point I'm starting to calm down a little, even though I'm thinking in my mind, how are we going to pay for this taxi? You know what I mean? So we get to the hotel by the Mayo Clinic because it's kind of all connected.
Okay.
And I tell my husband, Matt, I'm like, okay, go ahead, go pay our half. So he goes to pay the half, and they say, we've got this.
Oh, very cool.
I know. They said, we've got this. We've got the money. You guys just worry about taking care of your son. So I know.
I love
so
that. And were you just finally like, okay, great. I've got
Okay,
my
great.
money.
I can
I'm
eat.
good. I can eat. Or were you like, ding, God, put this all together? Or you were just kind of in the
kind of a
moment?
little of both.
Okay.
Like I knew that God did that. I mean,
Yes.
I totally knew that God
Right.
did that. But still, I was in mama mode.
Right.
Now
You've still
looking
gotta
back, and when I tell this story, of course I know that God had a better plan.
Right.
As Doris said, different plan.
I like how Doris said it,
Yeah.
a different plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
But of course I knew that at the time. But as we're going through this, God has a better plan, scriptures come to me.
Okay.
And
You got a scripture for us?
I've got a scripture for
Okay.
us, and this is Proverbs 16:9, and it says, "In his heart a man's plan is his course, but the Lord determines his steps." So in my story with Doris and Dell, my steps looked differently than what I had planned.
Yes.
My steps did not quite go the course that I wanted them to go.
Right. And was it better? I mean, your plane got rerouted. It was going to be this different journey. But then, Matt, I'm sure, and you in many ways probably ministered to them in some aspects of their journey and why they were there.
Right.
And so God just put all those pieces together. So it goes right along with our practice as far as you got to be willing, right? You got to be willing.
Right.
But then, like Doris listened. You've got to be able to listen to God and then do what He's saying. So I'm wondering, like, if she's in the taxi and God's like, just pay for it for them, just take care of it,
Right.
And so she did. So you've got to be willing. You got to listen, to what God has to say.
Right.
And then it does become a better plan. But a better plan doesn't mean an easier plan.
Right.
So that's why we are, working on dispelling this and definitely encouraging you to not say it. But I do like the different plan because that doesn't feel like it's pressing the situation away. I think it definitely, if you have to say something, it's like, would you consider, God might have a different plan.
Right.
I'm not saying it's prettier, but it could be a lot different than what's in your head.
Right.
Are you willing to hold that open, and are you willing to listen to Him? So that is going to be our practice this week, is listening to God, willing heart, and then listening to God. And certainly, keep the faith, sister, but don't receive the sugar-coated saying that God has a better plan. Now that's funny.
From the heavens high above,
I feel the touch of his laughter and love. In every moment, tear and smile, God's humor is heard, every step, every mile. Keep walking, dear sister. You've got this.